Hey everyone, James Lynch here. I am joined today by Reuben Carter. So to give you guys a little bit of a backstory on this and what we're going to be doing here today, I did a video last week criticizing Reuben and some of the things that he does in terms of MMA coverage, but I'm always a fair person, and Reuben, him and I had a bit of an exchange, to put it lightly, yesterday on Twitter, but I gave Reuben the opportunity to come on here and kind of give his take on everything that I said in the video, because I know there's some things we disagree on, and I think this is a good opportunity for everyone to discuss how MMA coverage is going. So I'm going to first let Reuben, first off, thanks for coming on here. Not everyone would do this. And I do see you're showing your real face and everything. And I know that's something that's been an issue with you as well. So I got to give you props for that. But I wanted to start first before I get into my questions. What was your take on my video, and what are some things that you had that you took issue with? Because like I said, I want to give you this opportunity right now to kind of respond and have a platform to do so.
I feel like I agreed with the general sentiment of what you were saying. I do think I made myself look like a fool, and I take 100% accountability for that given situation. The problem that I did take is I feel like you took one given situation and tried to make a bigger point out of it, and you didn't really understand who I am because I actually used to have 6,500 followers on Twitter before I sold it, so I was a big name. I used to have 15,000 followers on Instagram. I used to pull in like 20,000 likes per day. So I've been a pretty big name when it comes to MMA news and stuff like that, right? So I feel like you didn't understand who I was, and here I am to address it today. So yeah,
for sure. And just so you know, like, I've seen you on Twitter before. Like I don't spend as much time on Twitter as I used to. For me, it's, I kind of post my content, I keep tabs on news and stuff. So I have seen your name before. I guess for me, why I did the video, and I think a lot of people were kind of upset with the whole situation last week with the manager that you went after, was just the way that you were talking to like a prominent manager. Now, I know you didn't realize he was a manager, but just in general, if you're someone that people want to take seriously when it comes to breaking news and all that stuff, do you not think that it's a bad look to be arguing with people like that, and people aren't going to take you as serious? Like, what do you think of that notion?
Well, I didn't argue with him. I didn't say anything to him. What I did say, because obviously I deleted the tweet, so no one actually knows what happened, but I'll tell you what happened. Obviously there were trolls in the comments arguing with him, calling him fake news. But what I did is I sent I only knew he was Dreykus's manager. I didn't know he was Shavkat's manager. So I sent him a meme of Strikers being knocked out early on in his career, because I just thought he was just trying to cramp my style, because I didn't understand he was Shavkat's manager. But obviously after I did my deeper research and realized that he was, I deleted everything and apologized. So yeah.
Well, do you not also think, though, like sending memes to anyone on there, like I guess where I'm kind of like losing you a little bit is, like, if you want people to take you as a legit newsbreaker and all this stuff, just it doesn't matter if it's a troll or anyone else. Like, you don't see other people who break news like sending memes to people. Do you know what I mean? Like, people,
yeah,
like like kind of what I'm getting at is that, like, if you see people like kind of barking back at people online, like, if this is how they're going to act with people, how can people take you seriously? Do you understand that aspect of it?
Oh, yeah, 100%. He was 100% right to have responded the way he did. I was very immature the way I handled myself, and I hold my hands up and admit it. What it was is I was in a space with someone and they encouraged me to do it, so I did it. But it wasn't in my character. I'm not going to say I was peer pressured, because I'm a grown man, right? I'm not going to say I was peer pressured, but it was a stupid choice, and I deleted it after a couple of minutes. And other than that, I didn't say anything insulting or anything like that towards him. So yeah, that's just it.
One of the questions I think everyone wants to know is, why do you not put your like real face on there? Like, again, I appreciate you coming on here and showing who you really are. I'm pretty sure Reuben Carter's not your real name. You had a profile photo for a while. Your real name's Reuben Carter?
My name is Reuben Carter, yes.
Okay, interesting. Okay, then I got that wrong. This is why we're doing this, because these are stuff that I need to know and I need to figure out as well. Why don't you have your face online would be my question. And the reason I bring that up is you look at every major sport, you even look at MMA when it comes to like breaking news. Pretty much everyone has their true identity out there. Why for you do you not do that? I'm just curious.
Well, I did. I actually did. Like, so this is what I mean. You haven't followed me for a long enough time to know. Like, I have had my face out there for a very long time. I had a picture of me when I was younger, so people know what I look like. There is pictures out there on Twitter. People do post them and stuff like that. I just changed my profile picture back to like anonymous, I'm not really too sure why I did that. I just didn't want my face out there during this time. I didn't actually anticipate going viral like I have over the past couple of weeks. Because normally I just post on Twitter just to screenshot it and post it onto my Instagram. So like I never had any intentions of going viral on Twitter, but somehow it's managed to transpire in such a way where I'm being dragged into a lot of dramas and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been a shock, but I'm getting used to it.
Well, I was going to say, though, do you not, kind of going back to the point I just made before, do you not feel like if you don't have your real photo on there, how are people going to take you seriously? Like you don't see, like I said, like Ariel or Marcel or any of these other people have like a fighter profile. And not to mention, you could argue that having a fighter profile photo would make you biased towards that fighter. Did that ever cross your mind?
I don't really care if people take me seriously or not. I don't really care if people believe or not. Like that's my thing. I don't really care.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then I would counter that and say that on your bio, and I know you changed it recently, you said sourced by, CBS News and Yahoo News. So I think to a certain degree you want to be taken seriously. So I'm just curious, like why, like you say you don't care, but then you also want people to take you as a legit newsbreaker. I'm just curious why you have that sort of stance on that.
I mean, people can choose what they believe in. I can put things out there. They can choose to believe in me or not at the end of the day. And I don't think it requires me to have my face out there for people to take me seriously. I mean, you can come into a space. I run Twitter spaces basically every day. You can come into a Twitter space and speak to me man to man, person to person. So like, it's not like I'm hiding behind something. I'm not willing to speak to people. I'm willing to speak to people and show who I am. The reason why I just didn't put my face out there is just been going through a couple personal issues at the moment. I didn't really, as I say, anticipate this kind of new fame that I've managed to acquire over the past couple of days and weeks. So yeah, I've been trying to go a bit low key, which is why I sold my old accounts. So yeah.
So why did you sell your old account?
Well, when it came to Twitter, I sold it. Number one, because I was just tired of the fame. But number two, I felt like the trolling online was getting out of hand. There was this guy called Marty's Hairline, and he posted something to do with Francis Ngannou's dead son. And I saw that, and like, as a man, I didn't want to be associated to that community. It made me lose passion for posting. I used to have passion for posting online. And then when I saw that, it was something about comparing Francis Ngannou and Daniel Cormier because I saw that tweet. We don't need to repeat it. It was awful what that guy said, and I know that guy. If I'm not mistaken, the guy, I think he deleted his account, but that guy was awful even before all that. But yeah, we don't need to go into that. But yeah, so I think people know what you're referring to is what I'm getting to. Yeah, it's honestly disgusting. It's absolute horrendous. I can't believe that this community has fallen so low to the point where like these things are happening and there's people supporting it and having a laugh and laughing at it. It's absolutely disgusting. It's immature. And that's what I mean. So that's why I deleted it. But now I saw that he deleted his account. I thought I'd come back. So that's why I'm back.
Okay. But what, like, I don't get what your account had to do with him though, just because you followed him, or what was the or you had a lot of his followers?
I just lost passion. I just lost passion seeing that these things were going viral. These disgusting tweets about people's dead children were going viral. To me, it was disgusting, and I couldn't associate myself to the app. So I moved over to Instagram, and that's where I started to find success on Instagram. So yeah.
One thing that I like, something you kind of referenced here earlier, and there's a tweet that actually kind of backs us up a little bit. I'm going to read something that you tweeted the other day. You said, I don't post fight news because I want to be a journalist. I truly do it for entertainment. I don't care if I get the wrong source. I'm just focused on offering an alternative to the endless trolling that happens here on the rest of MMA Twitter. One day you'll appreciate that. My issue with this is, and this kind of ties back to the profile photo and everything like that, I think people would say that the reason you don't have your real photo out there, and again, we verified that this is your real name, is that there's no accountability. Like if Marcel or Ariel or any of these newsbreakers get something wrong, people, they won't hear the end of it. People will think they're not credible or whatever. Some people would argue that the reason that you don't have, the profile photo and you put a tweet out like this is that there's no accountability for anything that you get wrong. What do you say to those critics?
There is accountability. Of course, there's accountability. Of course, my credibility is on the line every time when I put. It doesn't matter if my name or my face is associated to it or not. If people continue to see things and it's fake news, obviously I'm going to take accountability. I'm going to have to take accountability for it, because people are going to rip into me, whether my face is on there or not. The amount of abuse I've had online, people saying this, people saying that. I've 100% taken the exact same scrutiny that another journalist would also take. So it's not about me not taking accountability. I responded to Shavkat's manager. I apologized to him. That was me taking accountability. So that's another thing that I'd like to push back on it. What you said in your video, that I don't take accountability. That message was me taking accountability. That was me apologizing to him for everything that I did wrong. So I did take accountability for what I did.
But you don't work for a company. Like, for example, Ariel, Marcel, Nolan King, like they all work for outlets. So if they do something wrong, that reflects poorly on their company. Like, right. As far as I know, you don't work for anyone. That's kind of what I mean by no accountability. You're just an account. Like if people get upset with you, you're going to get negative feedback. Correct. But that doesn't have any financial or any other implications there. What do you say to that? Because again, it is a bit different than what these other, media members are doing out there.
Well, Ariel was banned from all UFC events for reporting that Brock Lesnar.
He's still banned. I don't believe he's allowed to. He's allowed to do that. But that doesn't.
Right. Let me finish. Let me finish, please. Let me
go ahead.
Right. So he was banned from all UFC events for reporting that Brock Lesnar was returning at UFC 200. He was correct. He still got banned. Right. So leaked information as a whole. Obviously, the UFC is trying to monopolize information. And they're trying to monopolize the sport as a whole. This we all know this instinctively, mm-hmm. right? And at the end of the day, that's why it's the same consequence for me. If I get fight news wrong, if I get it wrong, it's still the same consequence. I'm still going to be blacklisted from the industry. So Ariel got it right, and he was blacklisted. And now, if I get it wrong, I'll get blacklisted as well. But even if I get it right, I'll get blacklisted. So that's why I don't care if it's wrong or right, because the consequence is the same. The consequence is the same.
Okay, we can agree to disagree on this, because I kind of just explained there. I don't think it is, because you don't work for anyone. You know what I mean? Like for Ariel, like there is a company that is paying him to do stuff. There's no company that comes back to you and tells you that you can't work for them or you're going to lose anything. Yes, your name's out there, but that's different than an actual financial thing. But it's okay. I can tell we're not going to come to common ground on that, and that's fine. I don't think that's the main thing here. I think there's a lot of different things we can kind of get into as well. One of the things that Reubenstein mentioned in his response to you was that tweeting out information that's not accurate hurts the managers and fighters and all that. Is that something you think about if things don't go right, or is that something that you're willing to acknowledge?
I would say I acknowledge it, yeah, but at the end of the day, it isn't my problem. At the end of the day, I'm just reposting what I'm seeing online or what I'm hearing. If Reubenstein's superiors then come to him and want them to answer to him and stuff like that, then or want him to answer to them, then that's his problem at the end of the day. And it's the sad reality of the industry, but it's a problem. It's a structural problem.
Oh, we lost him. Oh, he's back. We got you back. Sorry, you cut out for a second there. You're back. Keep going.
So it's a structural problem with the UFC as a whole, wanting to monopolize information. So, for instance, in football, in soccer, there's a journalist called Fabrizio Romano, and he covers all aspects of football signings and stuff like this. So he'll cover the inquiries, the early negotiations, etc. Whereas in this sport, the UFC just keeps everything private, likes to keep everything private, and then they'll have their own announcement. So there isn't any leaks or anything like that. So that's basically my point, is that the MMA journalism is totally different to other types of journalism.
I think there's still leaks. I think there's outlets that are reporting stuff before the UFC does. Would you not agree?
Yes, but only being given the green light by the UFC. I think now.
I disagree. I disagree on that. There's, again, just because I don't break news a lot, but I do talk to a lot of people in the industry. There are, people that know management groups, teams, all this stuff. And if they get it from multiple sources, they will run with it. I don't think everything goes through the UFC. I'm going to push back on that. Sorry, man. I don't think that's true. Not everything, anyways.
I think the majority of what happens in the mixed martial arts industry runs through the UFC. I 100% believe that. Okay. The UFC have held a strong monopoly on the sport for a long while, and now they are trying to monopolize information. They set that precedent when they banned Ariel Helwani. That set a precedent that allowed that caused for all MMA media members to tuck their tails and to not ask when they go to these events. They don't ask the hard-hitting questions. They don't pressure the UFC over certain things. The lawsuit wasn't mentioned. The lawsuit that the UFC goes through. Where was the media mentioning that to Dana White? They weren't mentioning that. So we have to be very clear. There's a lot of cowards in this space, and I'm not a coward. I'm willing to speak out about it. So that's the difference between me and them, is that I'm outside of that fold where I don't need to lick the UFC's ass, if that makes sense.
Again, I'm going to disagree with you there, because again, there's people that work for companies, and if they do things that are bad, the UFC is going to tell them or whatever. With you'll get mean people to you online, but that's completely different than actually making a living off this. Does that make sense? Like, so that's like, I know what you're saying. And
go on.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say that like it's a little bit different, because again, there's people that do this for a living, that make a living off of this. I'm assuming you don't, or I don't know how you would make a living off how you're just posting stuff online. So to me, it is different. I will agree with you that there needs to be more pushback on the UFC on certain topics, but I don't think it's as big of a monopolization as you're making it out to be. Like, other than Ariel, do you know any other journalists that are banned from covering UFC? The only ones that I know are Ariel and Josh Gross.
Here's why. It's because nobody within the MMA media has the balls to do what Ariel has done, to leak fight news like that, big fight news. And they don't have the balls to ask the hard-hitting questions. That is why there's nobody else that's been banned from UFC events. But there's plenty of people that are tired of being treated like absolute dirt by Dana White and by the UFC when they go to these events, that some journalists just don't go there anymore because they're tired of it. And that's the facts. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I understand. One thing that you said in your message to Reubenstein as well was that your source was someone from Facebook. A lot of people would read that and be like, well, this guy isn't legit, because people would say, I got it from a camp, or I got it from something more. Like I think when I read that, and you let me know, and again, this is why I'm giving you the opportunity to speak your piece here. When I read that looked to me like an excuse, that you got something from Facebook. It was so vague. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but Facebook has actually been a credible source of information for me.
But who on Facebook is my question.
I think it was MMA Fight Universe on Facebook. I think that's where I got that information from. They have like over 100,000 followers on Instagram as well. So it's not just a Facebook page, but I saw it on Facebook specifically. And I also got the news that Pereira versus Prohaska 2 from Facebook as well. And I got that hours before Dana announced it for UFC 303. So it's not like these sources have never been right for me before, because they have. It's just that, everyone becomes a victim of fake news at some point in time. And that's just the case for me here. So
are these Facebook accounts public, or are they private?
They're public. Yeah, they're public.
Okay, so why then my other question would be, why don't you just source them? Because that would lead to another thing where, let's say you heard something from some page and you got it wrong, the onus would be on them for posting it, not on you. Do you like, why? I'm just curious why you don't do that, because you never.
So I did source them. Sorry, I did source. Okay. I did source them, but people just take the piss. People just take the mick out of what's going on. They say like, oh, it's Facebook, this and that. So I'm just like, whatever, I'll just delete it. I won't even need to provide a source. I don't even care. So
okay,
like that's why, because people just take the piss.
Well, and I think another issue, and something you've referenced a ton on here, is you'll delete tweets and you don't acknowledge that there was mistakes made. Why don't you do that? I
do acknowledge that mistakes were made. I have. The message to Reubenstein was exactly that. So
but that was a private message. I didn't correct me if I'm wrong. If I missed this, you let me know. But I did not see a public tweet from you saying that, hey, the Shavkat thing was wrong or whatever. I saw the private message to Reubenstein, which was only leaked because he leaked it. Was there a public one done with the Shavkat news?
No, there wasn't. But people already know. People already know because they saw the post. I don't see.
That's the difference between a Marcel and Ariel, though, is what I'm telling you. Like, Ariel has, for example, the Conor McGregor situation. He's updating as it's going on, and some people didn't like that. Bisping was one who spoke about it. There's a lot of people, but at the very least, Ariel acknowledged it. Sorry, go ahead.
When Ariel was reporting on Conor McGregor's injury, did he provide a source?
No,
he didn't. When Chael Sonnen reports on fights, does he tend to provide a source?
No, we can get. Listen, I know where you're going with this, so but yeah.
There is information where sources cannot be provided. So
I understand that. Yeah.
Where people outside of the industry, inside of the industry, but outside of the social media world, don't want to be quoted and credited for these works. So that is my point, is that sometimes sources cannot be provided because people wish to stay anonymous.
No, I don't disagree with that. That's journalism 101. Everyone has sources. You don't have to name the sources. Otherwise, they don't really fit the bill of sources. But I mean, in a way, you're kind of comparing what you do as the same as Ariel. Just so I understand you, because I just want to make sure we're clear here. You feel like you're on the same.
I consider myself similar to Ariel. Yeah, I do. Except for the fact that I work for a company, that he works for a company. I consider.
But Ariel's also established. Like, how long have you been doing this? Would be my question too. How long have you been?
About a year.
Okay, so in other words, kind of what I'm getting at here, Ariel Helwani, who's been in the MMA industry forever since I started watching it, to what you're doing, you think it's the exact same thing? Just to be clear,
I don't think it's the exact same thing, but I believe that my morals and my principles align with Ariel's, and my way of doing things is pretty much the same as Ariel's, pretty much. Okay. And he's one of the only people that are willing to leak fight news, because he's already been blacklisted, so he's willing to do it. But other people that haven't been put on the blacklist, they're not willing to do it because they're scared of losing their media pass. That's the facts.
Well, I also think that there's people that don't break news. That's not their thing. I don't break news, for example. I don't think it's worth the squeeze a lot of times, and I think it takes a lot of time to verify other sources.
It takes balls. It takes balls to do what Ariel does. It takes balls to do what I do. So that's why I respect Ariel, is because it takes balls to do it. Because you can easily get things wrong. You can easily get a lot of backlash, right? And that's the facts. So,
do you understand though why so many people are upset with how you do your coverage? Like, do you understand the aspect of like again, I got a lot of shit even for you coming on here today. Do you understand why that is?
Yeah, I do understand why that is, because there's obviously been a mass movement on social media against me, because people believe that I just make up fight news and it doesn't come from anywhere, and I just make things up and post it, when that couldn't be anything further from the truth. So it's bizarre to me that people even think that. But yeah, I mean, people are entitled to their opinion. I can't really change their opinion, but I do understand why people are angry, because I have got things wrong, but they choose to ignore the things that I've got right. Pereira versus Proaska 2, UFC 303, Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler 303. I posted that, and Dana White replied to my post in the Power Slap press conference and said it was a massive social media rumor. But then days later, at the post-fight press conference for UFC 300, he announced the Conor McGregor versus Chandler fight. So he blatantly lied in front of everyone, and this is why people believe me, because they've seen Dana lie to them themselves, and then turn around and change his mind days later and announce the fight. So this is why people genuinely believe me.
Do you think there's a problem with fake news in MMA, like on social media, like as far as accounts posting fight rumors? Like, do you think it's a big problem, though, would be my question?
It's a gigantic problem, but it as I say, it really comes from what happened to Ariel. Ariel's one of the only people that leaks fight news. So before Ariel was banned, there was a bit more leaking going on. There was a bit more people willing to speak up and report about rumors that they've heard. So I feel like that left a massive gap in the market. But I'm going to give you an example. There's an Instagram page called MMA Uncensored, and these people post absolute fake news. Like UFC 300, they claim that Ronda Rousey versus Miesha Tate was the main event. Then they claimed it was Nick Diaz versus GSP. So these MMA Uncensored, these have got almost 1 million followers on Instagram, right? I've got 900 followers on Twitter. These people are 1 million followers. These got massive influence, and this is how they're using it. So I do agree with you. Yeah, there is a massive problem with fake news.
But do you see when you get things wrong? And again, we've referenced the stuff you got right. Like, I'm acknowledging that you have gotten things right and people should give you credit for that. But you can understand if you get things wrong, even if it's just a couple things, people will then lump you in with those MMA Uncensored. And I agree, by the way, MMA Uncensored, I saw them the other day post John Jones, Stipe Miocic is official for MSG. It's not official yet. It's not like no one is confirmed. It's most likely going to happen on that card, but that's not the same as it being official. So that's where I think that like kind of what I'm trying to get you to understand here is that like, I think the problem is that because you have gotten things wrong, people are now lumping you in with these other sites where they're just making things up. And I think one of the biggest problems, something I talk about on my channel a lot, is I think people do this for clout. I think that's the only reason they do it. They want to build up their popularity online. They think it's something that is meaningful in life, is to have a lot of followers followers and a lot of views and all that stuff. And so that's why they do it, because that's the only reason I can think of, because I don't know how much money these guys are really making on social media when they're posting just stuff that's just completely false. Like I remember there was a rumor about, this is just one as an example, and I don't even remember the site that said it, but I had people coming to me in my live chat saying that Khamzat Chimaev, this was before Chimaev and Whitaker was even a thing, it was Khamzat Chimaev and Colby Covington set for UFC Seattle. They haven't even announced UFC Seattle, but someone had mentioned that that's going on. Like, do you understand why people get pissed off at that? Because the media gets a bad rap as it is, where there's people, you know, we often hear the MMA media in quotation marks or MMA journalists in quotation marks, that like the media sucks. The problem that's happened now, and I just want you to understand this too, because like I'm on both sides of the coin. I'm on the YouTube content side of things, and I'm on like the legit journalist side of things. I interview fighters for a living. I don't know how much you know about me, but like I interview a lot of the top athletes. I cover this full time. But the issue that's becoming now on social media is they're being combined. So your sites that are making shit up are being combined with the legit people that are doing it. And that's why the legit people that are doing it are getting pissed off when stuff like this doesn't pan out. So do you understand that aspect at all?
I do understand that aspect 100%. And I mean, all I can say is I don't make things up. Sometimes I get sources, like for instance, you brought up in your video, Dylan Dennis versus Mike Perry. I speak to Dylan Dennis directly. He told me he was offered over $1 million to fight Mike Perry, but he hit BKFC with a counter offer. And wanted to also do an MMA fight after it. So a 2-fight deal. That's what he wanted. And the BKFC rejected and chose to go, and Mike Perry chose to go and fight Jake Paul. So these things that I am posting, maybe some of them don't come into fruition, but there is a source. There are people telling me that this is happening. Not everything comes into fruition. And I just want people to understand that.
But why in your tweet because I saw the tweet that you were referring to, that why in the tweet do you not mention sources close to Dylan Dennis's camp or something like that? Like, it's not going to out anyone specifically.
People already but
I think you do, because that's because
no, I don't, because people already know I'm close to these people. People already know.
People don't know that. You just said that people got mad at you for the Dylan Dennis and Jake Paul thing, right?
No,
correct?
You got mad at me. You got
not
mad
me.
at
There's
me.
plenty. I didn't even tweet you about Jake Paul.
Nobody else. You got mad at me.
I grabbed that from a tweet on Twitter. I wasn't the only one who got mad at you about that. Do you understand? Like, someone else quoted that and put it online. So I wasn't the only one who said that. Let's just be clear about that. I'm not the only one singling you out for something. It's other people online.
You don't know me then. Well, but most people
you can't just assume that everyone knows you, dude. Like, that's the problem. That's why Marcel.
Everyone knows me. Everyone does know me. I'm a massive name. You disagree?
Well, no, I disagree that, like, you can't just assume. Then why does Ariel even put sources in there? Everyone knows who Ariel is. Why does he put sources in his tweet?
Ariel doesn't put.
Yes, he does. He absolutely does.
We've already established that he doesn't put sources in there. He didn't put any sources in there when he spoke about Conor McGregor's injury. So, and he didn't put sources in there. He never does. I've never seen Ariel barely quote a source unless it's something to do with the Saudi Arabians or something like that. When we're talking about UFC fight news, he definitely isn't quoting any source.
I bet if we search Twitter right now and we type in Ariel's name and we put per sources, there would be some that come up. But anyways, forget about Ariel. Marcel, Nolan King, there's all types of people that break news all the time that is not greenlit by the UFC that put per sources. I'm not like getting mad at you or anything, man. Like, I'm just trying to explain to you that, like, the problem that's coming here from what I'm seeing is that because you're just putting that Mike Perry or whatever, Jake Paul, Mike Perry and all that is in early negotiations. The fact that you're Dylan Dennis, whatever, you're not putting it like per sources, is that you're just assuming that everyone knows that you're legit. But what I'm telling you is that, like, there's people who are legit that are still putting per sources, and at least there's some, because okay, kind of what I'm getting at is that if you just put that out there, someone who doesn't know you will assume that you're just making that up. Does that make sense? Because you're not putting per sources.
Yeah, I do understand that. Obviously,
like, I'm trying to help you, man. Honestly, like, I know you think that, like, I'm coming on here and trying to, like, be hard on you, but, like, what I'm trying to explain to you is that, like, if you had done things differently in how you're tweeting things out, I don't think you get nearly the blowback. And I know you don't care what people think, but you're also telling me that, like, it's annoying to get a lot of people hating on you. Don't you want to get less hate and people understand you?
I think I would. If I quoted Dylan Dennis as a source, they'd laugh at it even more. But
I told you didn't have to put Dylan Dennis as a source. You can put per sources.
This is the problem with social media. Is that even if I were to quote Dylan Dennis as a source, they'd laugh at it. So, like, but
why can't you just put per Dylan Dennis's team or people close to Dennis? What's the harm in that? That's not going after Dylan specifically. It's going after someone close to his team. Why can't you do that? That's my question.
Well, I said this earlier. I think it's because people just take the absolute mick out of my sources and stuff like that. So I don't choose to post them. But if people DM me and ask for a source, I can provide it. Sometimes I do put it under the post as well.
But no one's going to see that DM. Like all I'm trying to do is save you the grief of having people thinking you're making stuff up. Again, the people that know you, I know people support you, dude. Trust me. I saw it yesterday. I see it on social media all the time. Like, Reuben's legit, all this different stuff. But you have to understand, not everyone knows that, the same way that not everyone knows what I do. I had people yesterday being like, never heard of you. That's fine. But I don't, like, I try and make my work at least, legible so people know who I am. I guess, like, what I'm trying to save you the hassle of is if you did things differently, there would be people not giving you as much blowback, is kind of what I'm getting at. So it's just a recommendation, man. Like, you can do whatever you want after this. It's fine. I'm just telling you that, like, you would save yourself a lot of grief if you worded things differently in your tweets, because anyone can just write on social media, Nagano's coming back to the UFC, fighting John Jones. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying you or anyone said that, but like someone could just do that and that could get like 1 million retweets because people want to see it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. There's obviously a demand. Like, people, as you say, people really want to see certain fights. And I think when they see it on social media, even if they think I don't think people particularly believe in these fake news tweets. You know what I mean? Like, from MMA.
People do, man. I'm so, like, I do a live chat every week. I get people saying, hey, what do you think of like Jacob Malkoun's fighting Bo Nickel? Because Jacob Malkoun said that he was offered a fight with Bo Nickel and it's going to happen. I mean, Jacob Malkoun could have just made that up. And he had like a fake poster in his post. And I had people being like, who's going to win that fight now that it's official? And I'm like, it's not official. Just because he says it happens doesn't mean it's taking place. Like, until like someone legit goes on there and says this fight is happening, that's how I consume my news. And that's how I tell my audience to consume their news is by going by people who have a proven track record that aren't wrong, and all this different stuff. And that's, I think, a better way of doing it. And the other thing is, like I mentioned earlier, is that the people like Marcel or whoever that post news, and let's say the odd time they get something wrong, I'd say their batting average, if we're talking about breaking MMA news, is pretty good. If they do something wrong, they acknowledge it. That's where people know to trust them, because at least they're going to be honest. I think the biggest thing too is that, and why people don't like this fake news media and all this different stuff, is because there's no accountability. And again, I know you've referenced certain stuff, but what I'm telling you is that there's a lot of people who don't have accountability. So the people that actually put the work in, the people that have spent years building those relationships with teams and fighters and managers and PR people, those are the people that get pissed off because someone else is going out there and taking a shortcut and not having any accountability. Like, I'm trying to explain to you why people get upset for some of the things you do, and whether that's true or not, it doesn't matter. But my whole point is that this is why people are upset. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do understand why people are upset, but at the same time, you can block me, you can ignore the post. There's many options other than getting upset. I don't think everyone needs to get upset at things. I think. But
as we just said, like, fighters and managers and other people are being impacted if things are wrong. So you don't, like, again, I just want to ask you again, do you care about that? Is that something that bothers you or no?
Not really. I'm not going to
lie. Okay. See, I have a problem with that. But again, we're just going through every little topic here. Now, before we go, because we're almost at the 30-minute mark, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. And again, I think this has been, like I said, I think you've gotten your side out. I've gotten my side out. The Tim Welsh thing with the O'Malley fight. Yep. Explain that a bit, because I know you wanted to talk about that.
Right. So here's the thing, right, with Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley posted on his Snapchat story that when he was flying over the sphere, he had a picture looking down at the sphere, and he captioned it, Daddy's fighting here next. And then Merab comes out 2 weeks later saying that the fight's officially signed. So obviously all these Instagram pages pick it up and start posting it. Then O'Malley comes out saying it's BS. But obviously I didn't understand that. I just saw these posts on Instagram. I think it was an old post from a couple of weeks ago. So I've taken that, reposted it yesterday. And Tim Welch has obviously called me cap for it. But at the end of the day, like, Merab said it's officially signed. O'Malley said he's fighting there next. That's what he said on his Snapchat story. So, like, I think everyone instinctively knows that they're going to fight at the Sphere.
I don't disagree with that. I think that's a solid bet. If you were to bet with me right now that O'Malley and Merab is going to happen at the Sphere, I would say that's probably a good bet. So I agree with you. The problem is, though, and this goes back to something we talked about earlier. So you're saying that it's, again, the fight is in the works. So I can't remember the exact tweet. What did you say in the tweet? I don't have it handy.
I said it's signed.
Okay, so you said it's signed. So again, but you're explaining here that it was something of a post from O'Malley saying that he's going to fight there, and then something with Merab say, like, why don't you acknowledge that in the act? Like, you could put the post up, and then you could also acknowledge it in the second tweet, and then that way people can understand where you got this from. I know you're going to now say
it's officially signed. Merab said it's already signed. So
why didn't you say that in the post? Why didn't you say that in the post, though?
Because to be honest, you're right. I should have said that, right? But at the end of the day, I did quote the source that Merab had the interview with, that people can go and watch, where Merab said that it's officially signed. But I did actually say it in one of my previous posts
before.
Okay.
So people who would have followed it, because I said the officially signed post, but like last week I posted it's targeted, and I said Marab says is officially signed. Sean O'Malley said this on his Snapchat story. You could go onto my Twitter and find it now. So I have specified that in the build-up. Maybe I should have specified it again in that tweet, because it grew a bit bigger than the last one. But I have already specified that before.
Okay, because that again, I'm trying to save you the grief here, because then people will be like, okay, that's where you got that. Because I'm telling you, like, if someone reads your tweet, and I know what you're going to say after this, if someone reads that tweet that you have just on its own, and they don't know the context of what you just explained to me, they are going to say that you're the one who got that information from someone in either camp, and that's how you came up with that. But you're telling me here, you just concluded that from some digging there. So that's a bit different. So it's two things.
I didn't conclude anything. Marab said it was officially signed. Marab said it was officially signed.
But you said it was signed. You said it was signed, but you didn't say.
Marab said it was signed. Marab said it was signed.
Okay.
So that's why I posted it.
Right. So, but what I'm saying though is just the standalone tweet. Nobody knows that Marab said that it was signed. That's all I'm saying. So people think it's you who's reporting that. And so that's where Tim Welsh comes and says that, because maybe he didn't see that Marab had said that. Like, again, I'm trying to save you the grief here, dude, where it's like, if you had posted under the tweet, Marab, whatever, then you could say, hey, Tim Welsh, I think this is a done deal. This is what Marab said. It's going to save you a lot of headaches. But like to the average person, because you got to remember, not everyone has time to read through all your tweets and say, or just assume that you're legit or whatever. Like, that's why you have to put that stuff underneath there. Otherwise, no one's going to know. Because it's just like, I don't think people have time to like go through and see when you posted about this earlier. Does that make sense?
Yep. I do understand. And I do understand that it can come across as deceiving, but that isn't the intention. I can promise that isn't the intention.
And this is why I wanted to get you on here to explain all this, dude. Like, that's why. It's because like, I think like, I don't think you put stuff out there necessarily to just like get a certain reaction or whatever. I think you're trying to do good work here, but I just think that the way you're going about it is making you look like those accounts we just referenced. That's kind of what I'm getting at, right? Like, and again, like, I think, okay, there's just a couple more things we're going to do, and then we're going to wrap things up here. And then if there's any other things you want to say, I'll give you the thing. One other thing I saw you talk about was you tweeted something about early negotiations. And this was the exact tweet here. You said, early negotiations can mean anything. For example, two fighters going back and forth on Twitter, which is what I was referring to. So this comes back again to assuming that everyone saw that interaction. And two people talking on Twitter is not early negotiations. Early negotiations would be the management group are talking to each other. That's early negotiations. From my perspective, what do you have to say about that?
What they were saying, I know what you're saying. You're saying Paddy Pimblett versus Renato Moicano and stuff like that. They were trying to negotiate a fight date and stuff like that.
Who's trying to negotiate that, though, would be my question.
It was Paddy. Paddy made a video calling out Renato. Renato called him out on his podcast. They were both trying to figure out a fight date. So in my mind, that is called negotiations, and in most people they would also agree. But I do understand that obviously people that didn't see the Paddy Pimblett video or the Renato Moicano video, they can take it out of context. But most people within the fan base do see those things, and they do understand what I actually mean by it. So that's what I was referencing.
Okay, gotcha. And again, this goes back to the thing, you do yourself a lot of favors if that was referenced in the tweet. That's all I'm saying. Again, I'm looking out for you here, man. And then just, I guess my question is like, what's your goal with this? Because you've said that like you're doing this for entertainment. Like, are you trying to like become like a legit, like, and when I say legit, I mean someone that actually makes money doing this. Like, is that your goal? Like, what's your overall goal with this? I'm curious about that.
As of right now, I don't really have a major goal, but I would like to definitely start covering the sport. I'd definitely like to legitimize my brand a bit more and move away from leaking fight news and actually become more like Marcel and these other names that you mentioned, where I just cover fight news, and instead of trying to leak this and that and trying to cause dramas, I just kind of keep my head down and just report fight news that's basically already came to the surface. So I do intend on doing that, but I don't know when that will be, but very soon I can definitely say that.
Have you ever talked to Marcel or anyone that's like established and works for like a company in the industry? I'm curious.
I have, okay. Yeah. I've spoken to is it Zane Bando or something like that?
Yeah, Zane. I think it's Zian. It's pronounced differently. Yeah, it's not said Zane. I always forget his name. He's gonna kill me for not remembering, because we had him on one of my shows recently. It's either Zian or, anyways. I know who you're talking about from Sports Illustrated. Yes.
Yeah, I speak to him. He's been following me for a while. I speak to people that work for like Millions.co, and it's not like I'm totally outside of the industry. There's a lot of people within the industry that come to me for news. So like, you know, it's I know that might surprise you, but that's the truth.
No, it doesn't surprise me. We had this, and listen, I'll mention a conversation we had in DMs yesterday, and I'll acknowledge this too, because you were, you know, I'll bring this up because you're like, I'm going to bring this up on the thing. You talked about Sportskeeda, and I guess they quoted you on some news or whatever, and then I was explaining to you that like I have nothing to do with Sportskeeda's news. Like, in fact, I've talked to them a couple times about stuff that they've reported on. I've said, guys, I don't think this is even anything credible. Not about you, but it was about something else. But I just provide them interviews. I don't have any say in the editorial decision, what they write or anything like that. Like, again, I'm not really like, I'm a freelancer. I do a couple interviews a month for them and cover a UFC events for them sometimes, but it's a very minimal thing. But again, like I know there's people that are quoting your work and all that stuff. The reason I just stepping back a little bit, the reason I brought up like the Marcells and all these names is because like I would think, like I know a lot of people that are trying to build themselves up as far as like newsbreakers usually talk to these people. They, you know, kind of share notes and maybe learn some things. Like that never crossed your mind to like, you know, maybe like learn like how they're doing what they're doing. I know you found your own way of doing it, but do you not think it would have helped you as well to understand? Because I guess where I'm coming from is like the people that break news, because I have a podcast called the MMA Industry Podcast, and I bring people on and I like to tell their stories about how they get into the industry. So we've had Nolan King on and Marcel. They're two of the biggest newsbreakers in the sport. How they were able to do it was just interviewing fighters, building up relationships with managers, building up relationships with teams. I know you told me off air and DMs that you have sources in specific camps, but like, do you have any relationships with any management groups or any fighters? Because I think that would lead to you getting more credible information is kind of what I'm getting at, as opposed to public stuff.
With fighters, yeah. I mean, Dylan Dennis, Nate Diaz, you know, all of these names. I have links inside of Tony Ferguson's camp. I have links inside of Leon Edwards' camp because I actually renovated Team Renegade's gym. Actually helped renovate that gym. So I do have links within many different fighters. I
heard someone told me this morning, you can tell me if I'm wrong, I'm not going to say specifically who it is, but you know someone that's close to Dan Hardy as well, is my understanding.
No, potentially I could get links to Dan, but what people are referencing is basically I met Dan Hardy when I was about 16 years old. I was actually vaping inside of a tunnel with my friends. I must have been about 15, in fact, right? And Dan Hardy ran over basically like because he thought we were setting fires, and it turned out it was just vape smoke. But he was on smoke. He was ready to fucking to smash my face in. So I was pretty but yeah, that's what people reference. They're just having a joke, like they're just trying to take the piss. But it is what it is.
You don't want me to ask you how old are you?
I'm 22.
Okay, because I'm just because I'm a lot older than you, part of that too is that like I've been in this industry for a long time. Like I went full time in 2017, and I think again the more you get in this industry, the more you sort of learn things and get it. And that's the goal of today. I know there's gonna be people watching this pissed off, whatever. I didn't say this or you didn't say that or whatever. It doesn't matter. The whole goal of today is for us to have to talk about this because I don't think enough people talk about the industry and news and all that different stuff. And I feel like today we kind of covered most of it. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we get out of here? Because we can wrap this up. I told you 30 minutes. We're at 40 now, so I don't want to take up too much time.
Well, you said wrap it up. I would love to wrap.
Okay, okay, go for it. Go.
Okay. So far, pull up in a Rover. I'm a steamroller, Matt Fravola. Don't really care if I'm not sober. Knock a man down like Drew Dober. Mike Goldberg and it's all over. I feel like Jury when he finished Glover. Conor McGregor, I'm a joker. Pritchard Colin end up in a coma.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say anyway.
That's where you're going to end as a rapper. Are we going to see more of this? Is this going to become a thing?
If you want me to come on again, I'll be happy to come on again. I mean, like, I've definitely got a lot of things to speak about and stuff like that. And yeah, bro, I'm happy, man. I'm happy to come on.
Okay, well, on a very serious note here, thank you for coming on. Like, a lot of people would have not done this. I've had people that have, you know, I've mentioned, or vice versa. I've had people that just, you know, wanted to comment on things and won't come on. And I respect you for coming on and respecting you for showing your face. And hopefully we all learned something here today. That's the goal. Like, again, there's no, like, I got no ill will towards you. I know I went hard in the paint on you in that video, but it speaks to an overall problem that I have with how the sport's being covered. And I think you cleared up a lot of things here today, but I think there's room for improvement as well. Maybe on both sides. But my whole thing is I always give people the opportunity to respond if they want to. So hopefully you took that in and you got everything you wanted to say today.
Yes, thank you very much, James, for bringing me on to this platform and giving me the opportunity to respond. So not many people would have done that. So I've got a lot of respect for you for doing that.
Okay, let's end it here, everyone. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow on my usual stream. Hopefully we all learned something here today. For me, for Reuben, thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys soon.